I love Scott McDonald. Just thought you ought to know that. Uh, it seems to be working okay now. That is so weird. I don't know where else to start with this. Um, I have the iPhone. You've seen it before on the show. Dylan knows. Here it is right here. And for whatever reason, uh, it hasn't been. It was weird. I just put it on. I mean, I went and watched a video on Facebook, and then I put it. I went back to the main page with all my icons, and then I went upstairs for a few minutes, and it was on my charger. And then when I came down, it was blacked out, and so I was freaking out because I couldn't get it to turn back on. So Scott McDonald, friend of mine, sent me how to do it, and I tried a few different things, and I didn't think it was going to work, and then I just gave up and pressed button once, and it worked. So Scotty, I owe you a lot. This is Dylan Knows, and I got that Friday feeling back. Damn. So funny. I'm just gonna try a tweet right now. Tweeting from my phone. Thanks at Scott McDonald. I owe you one. So, good thing I got my Friday feeling. I got my Friday feeling back. All right. So today's show is going to be a doozy. Maybe I should put it back on the charger. No, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to let it sit here and see what happens over the next couple hours. It's at 65% right now. If I need to, I'll go back upstairs and do it. But it puts into perspective how much we rely on our phones. And I think I've talked about this before, but I felt almost, impotent or naked or whatever you want to call it when my phone wasn't working. So I took the kids out and we got some ice cream, but I didn't have a chance to play Pokemon Go. I didn't have a chance to check the time. I didn't have a chance to text my wife back, who's down in Atlanta, and I'll get to that in a few minutes. I didn't get a chance to text her and let her know if something was wrong because I was on the road and I couldn't get on Facebook. So I was going to come back home once we got back. I was getting on the laptop and send her something, which I ended up doing. And that's when Scott and I'll also Doug Close helped out as well. I had a bunch of people who were giving me advice. So guys, I appreciate everything. Scotty, Doug, Sean Schick, all you guys helped me out there, so, and made me laugh when I thought it was hard. Kelly Tool's watching. Thank you, Kelly. Yes, I will not get naked today. I promise you that. I know how much that terrorizes you, I suppose, and it's amazing that Dawn actually puts up with that. But that's for another discussion. We're not going to do it now. Well, I got a lot of cool stuff to talk about today, and a lot of stuff to talk about. So, it was so weird, how much we rely on our phones. And luckily, I did have a watch, so if I needed to, I could go get a watch. I could tell time, and then I was going to go into the phone place tomorrow and see if I needed to do something. But it's working now. I got Twitter up right now. Everything else seems to be okay. So good. So real quick, we'll just start talking. Kelly Tool, who I just mentioned, sent me a tweet, is watching. Hi, Kel. Hope you're having a good time down in Atlanta. Snark Stock is going on. For those who don't know, I'm and Kelly and a bunch of about 100 strong, 100 plus of us are a member of an internet group called the Snark Alex. And we've been together, God, years. 5, 6, might even be 6 years, 6 years maybe. It's been a long time, and it all started when we were all making fun of sci-fi movies. We used to play the crappy before Sharknado. There was a whole bunch of other crappy films before then. We would just be tweeting at them and being snarky about it, and then a bunch of us were doing it, and we were seeing the same people every week, and so we started responding to each other's tweets, and then we started having conversations, and then we all sort of became friends that way. So things kept going. Kelly, along with Tony Solo and Mel, and then eventually Mike Belinsky, decided that they wanted to try something to spread the word about Snark Alex, or just have a chance for the Snark Alex to see everybody and hang out. So they started a Google Hangout called Snark Alex Radio. And they did, I think it was 88 episodes, Cal. Correct me if I'm wrong. Plus the additional one we did a couple weeks ago as a reunion show, and then the one a couple years ago when the Pope was in Philly. You guys did a reunion show on that one also. So we've done a couple reunion shows on that, but did about 88 episodes, I think, of Snark Alex Radio. And Snark Alex Radio begat my show, Dylan Knows, which is on episode 194 right now. And Kelly Toole went absolutely crazy with all his stuff, Squat Cobbler, his other shows that he's done. Jeans has done some shows, and we all sort of did our own little thing, and it's sort of spiraled from that. And now we've got spin-offs of Snooze and other stuff as well. And so a few years back, we discovered a bunch of us all live like in the Mid-Atlantic region, and so we decided to get together for dinner up in New Jersey. So we went up to New Jersey and had dinner. It was only about, that was the first Snark Stock, was only about, I don't know, 7 or 8 of us. There wasn't really a lot of us there. And that begat a major Snark Stock, which we did the next year later. We went to Philadelphia and spent a whole day with everybody and expanded more. Last year was Snark Stock here in Baltimore. We're expanded a little bit more, got more people to come out and do stuff. This year, everyone's down in Atlanta, and that's where Kelly is, and a few other people as well. My wife, Dawn, is down there now. So I am a single dad this weekend. So what did I do? I fed the kids pizza and ice cream, and soda. So I'm dad of the year, right? So all kinds of fun stuff. So, and I put them in bed, I gave them their baths and got them in bed, make sure they brush their teeth and comb their hair, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to let my daughter stay up till 10 because it's school night and she's 10. So that's what I'm going to do. So Snark Stock's going on right now. There's all been already some stuff coming out of there, pictures and video and stuff like that. And it seems like you guys are having a blast. My wife drove down with Myrna and Mike and his friend Corey, and he should just be about in Atlanta about right now. They left about 9:30 a.m. So they've been on the road for a good 12 hours now. And that's, we pretty much think they're probably there now, or if not, they are so close that it's going to be any time. Dawn and crew are just under an hour out from the hotel. Gigi Fletcher's London Pizza for their arrival. Okay, so they're still got another hour, so they're probably not going to be there until about 10:30. Okay, thanks for the update, Cal. So she'll be down there then. So tomorrow they got a whole gaggle. That's when the actual Snark Stock proper is. They got a whole gaggle event, so we're going to probably be seeing tons of pictures and videos, and that's awesome. It's great. A possible Squat Cobbler sighting maybe. So should be pretty cool with that. So keep your eyes on that. Check the hashtag SnarkStock 2017 if you're a Snark Alex, or you just want to see how we roll and how we do some cool stuff. So it should be a very enjoyable day for those down in Atlanta. Myself, I'm going to be running around with the kids all day tomorrow. My dad's 70th birthday was earlier this week. I'm going to go visit him because I actually haven't seen him in a while. Might see my mom. We're going to buy some gifts for the kids' teachers because their last full day of school is today. They have 2 half days that they've got Monday and Tuesday, and then school's done for the summer for them till Labor Day. But we're not going to get into that. See, I'm not very happy that it's going to be that late this year. Neither is Dawn, but there's a reason for it. And then, I promised them we'll go out to eat also again and have some fun and do some cool stuff. So that's good. So Snark Stock 17. Hope you guys are having good. The funny thing is, when we mentioned Atlanta, hot Atlanta, it's down south. It's going to be brutally hot. Everyone was saying, "Oh, it's going to be hot. It's June." The funny thing is, looking at the temperatures for Sunday up here in Baltimore, where I am, is going to be a heck of a lot hotter than it's going to be down in Atlanta. It's going to be like 96 degrees up here on Sunday, and it's going to be 10 degrees cooler down there. It's going to be about 86 down in Atlanta. So Baltimore is going to be hot. Baltimore doesn't have the same ring. So what am I going to do on my show this week? Well, as always, knowing it was a solo show because my co-host Jerry is down in Atlanta for Snark Stock, so we can do that. My other co-host MJ was going to be down in Snark Stock, but he's still dealing with some family issues, so I'm not going to press on that till he's ready. So knowing full well I was going to be having a solo show, I figured, okay, let's see what's going on here. So I talked about my phones taken care of. That was going to be one story I was going to talk about, but it's been taken care of. Again, thank you, Scott McDonald. You the man. I appreciate all your help, and yours too, Doug and Sean, for your help as well. What we're going to talk about today, we're going to maybe talk a little bit about the man who killed Don Quixote. We'll talk a little bit about some planets. Talk about an unpopular opinion of mine. Some Batman Catwoman history, because a major event happened in the most recent Batman comic that is a game changer. A couple of deaths, one of local interest and one today, which is more people would know who this actress is. But with death, there's also life. Some new babies have entered the world, and one of the and the father happens to be at one time was one of the greatest bachelors of all time. We'll talk about that as well. Something called clean films, which I'm going to go about. Maybe some guilty pleasures, some talks about some exoplanets, tots. I just found out what tots mean. I'm woefully behind the times. I found what that is. And maybe a little bit of music in there as well. So, went for an action-packed show. And again, thank you, Scott McDonald, for your help. And as I said, everyone else who's helped out with that. Phone is good. Phone is great. And I am relieved at this point. So, without further ado, thank you, Lord Jesus. Let's talk some other stuff here. Let's start with the man who killed Don Quixote. It's top of my page in my book here. May as well do that as well. Terry Gilliam is a director. He also used to be a member of Monty Python. He directed such films such as Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, 12 Monkeys, Brazil, The Fisher King. What else has he done that's been fairly interesting? I can't think of. He's done a bunch of really crazy, wild. The Adventures of Baron Munchausen. He's done a bunch of crazy type of films. They're really, really cool. Time Bandits, he co-directed, I think, with Terry Jones, possibly. He has been obsessed with a story called The Man Who Killed Don Quixote. And he has been trying to turn this into a movie for, I think, close to 20-some years. And there have been lots of false starts. And he's had to shut down production a number of times. And it just seemed like that the movie was cursed. And then we were getting some good news that it looks like that he completed it finally. I mean, everything shot, no problems whatsoever. And then some fake news got a hold of me. Jabberwocky, yes. I thought he did Jabberwocky, Kelly. I wasn't exactly sure if it was him or Terry Jones was involved with that as well. But thank you again for that one. He did do Time Bandits also, right? He did that by himself, not with Terry Jones, right? Terry and him directed Life of Brian, I think. And I think Terry might have even directed Monty Python and the Holy Grail, I think. and maybe Life of Brian. I'm not exactly sure, but yeah, I thought Jabberwocky was in there. Kel, I wasn't exactly sure if it was just him or if it was Terry Jones, but yeah, he's known to do that. But The Man Who Killed Don Quixote has been the one movie that he's been trying to make for 20 years, and then he got it done, and then I got affected by some fake news, which got me started to talk about this story. To say, yeah, look, this movie is cursed. Turns out it's fake news, but I'll get to that in a second. So basically, there's actually a documentary called Lost in La Mancha, which details all the background problems, the horror stuff, the bad stuff that happened to Terry while trying to film this. Some of the highlights, if you want to call them highlights, is there was yeah, Time Bands was Terry Gilliam. Thank you, Kel. There was massive flooding, which destroyed a number of his sets where he was filming, plus changed the outlook of the land so that what he had filmed in that land, this flooding and all this stuff, changed how it looked, and he could not use the film that he had already used because it wouldn't match up in post. It would look off. Something it would take you out of the film, and it wouldn't give you the illusion that it was taking place in the same spot because everything changed after this. Actors getting hurt. There was one that I think not tore, but he did something to had a hernia or something like that while he was or did something to his shoulder or something, and it was painful that he couldn't continue, so they had to stop that. And then there are other times he was trying to get money and they weren't willing to pay for it, and he had to recast a number of times. Robin Williams was involved, that Johnny Depp, Michael Palin at one time was involved with it as well. And the death of one of the actors who's going to play Don Quixote died during the filming of. So he just had, it was just a snake bit bad luck film. And the Lost in La Mancha is a documentary which details a lot of this, and it also has its own Wikipedia page if you want to check out all the stuff that happened. Just type in The Man Who Killed Don Quixote or Terry Gilliam or Lost in La Mancha. It'll detail everything. So eventually it got to the point where Terry's like, I'm done with this. He wasn't going to even worry about it anymore, and he went on and did some other stuff. I think the Zero Theorem was another one he just did, and also the Cabinet of Dr. Cagliostro or something like that, which had its own problems as well because Heath Ledger was in that and he died during the filming of it, so he had to redo some stuff and got Jude Law and Johnny Depp to play the same character in a unique twist of fate. It's kind of interesting. So then I hadn't heard much about it, and then either secretly or maybe I just missed the story about it or it just didn't hit on my radar. He actually went back and was filming it. He had a cast, had it all worked out, and things were going fine. And then just the other day, he announced, "Yep, I'm done. It's in the books. It's finished. It's monkeys off my back. The film is done. The death of the Man Who Killed Don Quixote is going to come out in movie theaters very soon." So I got people excited, like, "Oh, cool, we'll finally be able to see what all the hubbub is about." And here's where the fake news comes in. So then, like a couple days later, I'm looking through Facebook or Twitter or something like that, and there's an article, and you can usually tell where the fake news is because the kicker is like the sports satire Twitter handle on The Onion, of course, so you could tell right away. And there's a few other ones that you pretty much know are fake news, so and are done for satirical comedic effect. This one I wasn't familiar with when I saw the tweet that said, and to me, knowing the history of what had happened to the Man Who Killed Don Quixote, when the tweet was, "The Man Who Killed Don Quixote," or Terry Gilliam accidentally deletes entire Man Who Killed Don Quixote because it was filmed entirely on digital. He had no backup, and in a fit of brain fartness or whatever, he turned off the editing machine without saving it, and it deleted the entire movie. And so he was like, "Oh, we're going to start over again." And then they said it's going to start filming in 2018 again. And so I was like, "Oh my God, did that really just happen?" So I had it written down on my page, like, man, this is just the worst luck ever. And then a few days after that, I actually see a tweet from Terry Gilliam, which says, it was something along the lines of, "Really? I hadn't even noticed." It was a picture of him playing pool with his grandchild, and it was a retweet, um, where the text tweet or whatever we're going to call it. I got to get the proper phraseology, or Kelly will kill me if I don't get it right. It is a quote tweet. Thank you. Um, uh, that Terry had said something along the lines of, "Yeah, actually, let's see if I can pull up the actual phrasing that Gilliam used in his uh, Terry Gilliam. There he is in his tweet. "I think I got distracted playing pool with my granddaughter in Spain and accidentally killed Quixote. Let's see, it's going to come up here. Come on. I just received this report, arg," and it was from the satirical thing. And that, as soon as you saw that, you're like, okay. And then reading in the comments is like, yeah, it's a satirical Onion-esque type of website and stuff like that. So, wow, the Cavs are actually beating up on the Warriors today. I'm not a big basketball fan. I just happened to see that on Twitter. But yeah, no, so I was like, so it's not true. And I was like, okay, I'm glad it's not true for Terry's sake, because I think if he actually did, I think he'd just end up saying, fuck it, I'm going to retire. I'm not going to make any more films. This is done. This is the end of my career. The fact of the matter is, it's done. There is, and I kept thinking, it's like, how could that happen? You know, you'd think Terry would have a very serious, I got to make sure nothing happens. He's got to be super anal about making sure that everything was saved and nothing was deleted that he couldn't recover if need be. Just in case something happened when he transferred. He probably has backups upon backups upon backups. And he probably even maybe has, if he can do it, I'm not sure if he can put digital onto film. He might have probably physically put it on film also, just in case. It wouldn't surprise me if he did that. But at the same time, when I read the news, the fake news, it wouldn't surprise me that would have happened to the film either, that it got deleted before it was saved, just because it was a snake bitten type of film. Because when you're snake bitten, and that's a term people use for sports, snake bitten teams like the Cleveland Browns, or, sorry to say this, Cal, the Chicago Bears lately appear to be kind of snake bitten. Just teams that, nothing seems to go right for them. Quarterback problems, issues with the players, stadium things, stuff like that. It's just, and weird things just happen and they can't win. And they end up, it shows up as being snake bitten, because it just seems like everything goes wrong every time for them, regardless of what they do. So I'm glad that Terry got the film done. I'm glad he's going to be able to release this finally. And as I said, get that monkey off his back. He's never going to have to worry about the film again. It might not have been the exact version he wanted to see, but it's a version that he's probably very proud of. So kudos to you, Terry. And fake news can still catch me. They can still catch people all the time. So from one death, the man who killed Don Quixote, to some other more serious, realistic deaths. 2 deaths been announced this week. One today, and one a few days ago, which is more of a local thing. I'll do the local one real quick. There used to be a guy by the name of Coach Buzz. He had a sports show on one of these, like radio, radio that you get, just like Sirius or something like that. But he was a Baltimore guy, so he would talk about Baltimore sports. But he had the very strong Baltimore accent that when you hear it, when you see it, you'll know it. You'll know that. Even though I am from Baltimore, I don't have that deep accent. I mean, I was born in Baltimore County and lived in Baltimore County. So I didn't actually live in Baltimore City, but you do get some aspects of the way I talk. You can hear a little bit of the accent. It's not as strong as Hun and all that stuff that you're used to hearing from Baltimore people. But this guy, Coach Buzz, had that really strong Dundalk, Essex type of Baltimore accent, Hamden type of accent. And so he used to do this sports show, talk about local sports. He might have even actually been a real coach. I don't really know much about him. He might have been a real coach also. And what I know him from was there's a bunch of stores in the area called Salvo Auto Parts. Salvo Auto Parts, as Coach Buzz would call it. And Coach Buzz was a sponsor of it, or he was one of the spokespeople for it. So he'd go, Coach Buzz here, and he would talk about, in the Baltimore accent of everything that Salvo Auto Parts does, and tell him the coach sent you, stuff like that. So he was a local celebrity when it came to Salvo Auto Parts, but a lot of other people knew him from his radio show. I never listened to it because I don't have this Sirius or any of these other like subscription radio radio pro things that are out there now. So I only know him really of the Salvo Auto Parts commercials, and occasionally he might pop up on TV or on the sports radio shows that I listen to on regular public access radio, particularly 105.7, which is our sports radio up here in Baltimore. So I didn't really know him that well. But the fact is, a lot of people did. They knew him as the coach when he coached whatever he coached. I'm not exactly sure what he was. It might have been basketball, football, baseball. I don't know. I just remember him from those Salvo Auto Parts, and I don't mean to speak ill of the dead, but they were kind of cringeworthy, just the way he was talking. And look, I'm proud of my Baltimore heritage. I'm proud of my Maryland heritage, whatever you want to call it. It just sometimes hearing that outrageous Baltimore accent just makes me want to clean my brain out. So luckily, I don't have that too bad. You can get it like my R's. I do my Washington. I call Washington. That's as much as I get. Blair Road. I don't really call it Blair Road. It's Bel Air Road. I usually put out there. But when I'm talking really fast, sometimes you get some of that Baltimore accent out there. But it's not as strong as this guy's accent was. But he passed away. He was a good guy, kept his nose clean, and was his actual coach for years and had a sports show, loved his Baltimore sports team. So, you got to feel bad, someone like that passed away. He was older though. He was in his 70s, I guess, 70s, 80s. So, he still lives a pretty good life. So rest in peace, Coach Buzz. I will never forget your commercials. They're seared in my brain. So I guess maybe that was a good thing, because now whenever I hear Salvo Auto Parts, it's Coach Buzz here. But today we actually had a famous actress. A lot of people might not have known her, but when I tell you some of the stuff she was in, you'll be like, oh, yeah, I remember. Glenn Headley. Glenn Headley passed away today. She was 63, 64, 62 to 64, which is younger than my dad. My dad just turned 70. So it's kind of odd when somebody, not odd, but I mean, I know it happens when somebody younger than your dad or your mom passes away, or even close to your age. So I'm going to be 44 this year. So, I mean, that's only like 20 years away. But Glenn Headley, for those who don't know where you might have seen her from, I think probably the film that really, it might have even been her first one, major film, that brought her to prominence was Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, directed by Frank Oz, with Steve Martin and Michael Caine. It's a great film. If you've never seen Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, I highly recommend you check it out. Basically, the premise is Michael Caine plays a con man in Britain who loves what he does, and he's really good at what he does. And Steve Martin plays a con man from America who has decided that he wants to break into Michael Caine's territory and start conning the people in Michael Caine's area. And of course, Michael Caine's not going to, stand for that. But eventually, Steve asked Michael Caine to teach him how to be as good of a con man as Michael Caine is, while conning him at the same time. And so they decide to test each other on a mark played by Glenn Headley, who is a woman. And they were both going to con her, or actually they first were going to team up together to con her. But then it wasn't quite working out the way Steve Martin wanted to. But so he split off and made a bet that whoever, I think she has a lot of money or something like that, whoever gets the money is the winner, and whoever fails has to leave town or something like that. So the two of them are competing against each other. And it's a good film because Michael Caine has been the cock of the walk, as it were, in that area for so long that he's forgotten what it's like to have competition. And Steve Martin is a young upstart to come in there and try to take it over. So Michael Caine's got to dust off some of the stuff that he, dust off, what he's done and get back into the motions. And it's a fun film. It's a lot of fun, and there's a nice little twist at the end, which I'm not going to ruin here. You just got to catch it for yourself. And then she's moved on. She reteamed with Steve Martin, and I think this is actually an underrated film. I can understand why a lot of people didn't like it, but it's got a really good comedic cast in it, and it's a lot of fun. I mean, it's a brainless, fun type of movie. It's Sergeant Bilko. It was a film version of the old TV series with, I think it was Danny Kaye was the guy who played Sergeant Bilko, who was similar. It was a guy who worked was in the army, and he was conning everybody in the armed forces, the generals and stuff like that, and doing stuff, doing illegal casino things and stuff like that, while staying in that and making money while just sort of being in the National Guard type of thing, and hoping that there was no war because he doesn't want to go fight. So the TV show was really good. So they decided they were going to do a movie version of it, and I don't remember who directed it. It was maybe Jonathan Lynn. I don't know if it was or not. Actually, I should probably look that up. But it stars Steve Martin, and he reteams with Glenn Headley again, who was, he worked with in Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. Phil Hartman is in it. Chris Rock, Dan Aykroyd. Who else is in there? Sergeant Bilko. Oh, Bilky, Sergeant Bilko. There we go. I wrote Sergeant Bilky. Sergeant Belinsky. 1996 film directed by Jonathan Lynn. Okay. It was Phil Silvers. I'm sorry. Phil Silvers was not Danny Kaye. Phil Silvers was the character of Bilko. The cast includes Steve Martin, Dan Aykroyd, Phil Hartman, Glenn Headley, Austin Pendleton, Chris Rock, Deborah Jo Rupp, Max Casella, Daryl Mitchell, Mitchell Whitfield. Just a lot of good comedic actors at the top of their game. And it's not the best film in the world, but it's a fun film, and particularly you get to see Phil Hartman, who I still miss, and Steve Martin going up against each other, and Dan Aykroyd is in it as well, and and Glenn Headley is fantastic in it as well. I also remember her from two other really good movies that I really enjoyed. Another underrated film, Dick Tracy, directed by Warren Beatty. I love Dick Tracy. And I love it so much because Warren Beatty basically took the cartoon of Dick Tracy from the newspapers and put it up on the movie screen with the primary colors, the grotesque villains, and he got a cast of thousands to be in the film. I mean, again, I got to read you the cast list of Dick Tracy. If you haven't seen it, this is one of those other films that you've got to see. I mean, Warren Beatty, Glenn Headley's in it, Al Pacino, Dustin Hoffman, Charlie Korsmo. I'm trying to remember who else was in. Madonna is actually in it. She actually does a really good job in the film. Actually, she does really well. Paul Sorvino is in it. Let's see, cast list. Warren Beatty, Al Pacino, Madonna, Glenn Headley, Charlie Korsmo, Seymour Cassell, Michael Pollard, Charles Durning, Dick Van Dyke, Kathy Bates, Dustin Hoffman, William Forsythe, Edo Ross, James Tolkien, Mandy Patinkin, R.G. Armstrong, Henry Silva, Paul Sorvino, James Caan, Catherine O'Hara, um, any other, Charles Fleischer, who was the voice of Roger Rabbit. And so it's just, and they just, these characters they play are just grotesque characters, but they are the characters that Chester Gould, who created Dick Tracy, he created for Dick Tracy. And then Max Allan Collins came in and has been writing the cartoon for years now. And Max Allan Collins is a hard-boiled crime type of cartoon, or rather writer, and he's writing a hard-boiled crime cartoon also, which is really cool. Glenn played Tess Trueheart, the true love of Dick Tracy, and was the put-upon girlfriend. But it's got a great Danny Elfman score to it. This came out the year after Batman, 1989 Batman. This is 1990. So it has just these bright primary colors, and Warren Beatty just directs the hell out of it. It's fantastic. And yes, Al Pacino goes way overboard, but the character is that way, you know, he's way overboard. You hear Mandy Patinkin sing with Madonna, a nice little slow song. And Madonna actually plays a really good femme fatale in this. And then there's just and then Dustin Hoffman playing Mumbles, who's one of the funniest characters in the film. And, you know, just a very 1930s Hollywood cartoon, bright colored type of film, and it is totally worth your while. If you haven't seen Dick Tracy, check it out. And maybe you can, with the passing of Glenn Headley, maybe you should go check it out if you haven't yet, just to give, you know, your condolences to her. The last one I want to talk about that a lot of people might know her from is Mr. Holland's Opus. Now, that's another great film that you don't think would be a great film, but it sneaks up on you and jumps on you. Richard Dreyfuss plays a composer who's trying to write a opus, and he just got married to Glenn Headley, plays his wife, so they're just starting their married life together. And it expands like 30-40 years, so it starts like in the 1950s, early 60s, probably 50s, and I think it starts in the 1950s because William H. Macy's character is the crew-cutted Johnny Unitas type of guy, who very straightforward, straight shooter, who hates rock and roll. But he needs to make money, because you can't make money as a composer because you're not a big composer guy. He's trying to be. That's why he's trying to write this opus. So he decides, you know what? I know a lot about music. There's local high school. I can teach music at the high school, and I get my summers off. So during the summer, I can work on my opus, and it's all going to be perfect, right? Not so fast, Mr. Holland. Mr. Holland soon learns from Olympia Dukakis, who plays the principal of the school, that being a teacher is and my teacher, I have a lot of teachers in my family, teacher friends, teacher family. They can tell you teaching is an all year round thing. It might, you know, lessen a little bit during the summer. And I think in Mr. Holland's opus, they try to emphasize it a little bit more to make a point that, you know, being a teacher is, you know, a good thing to, you help influence young people and get them to learn and stuff like that. So it spans like a 30-year period, maybe like late 50s, early 60s, late 50s, early 60s through the 70s and 80s. I think it ends in the 1980s. Maybe it ends in the early 90s when the film came out. But basically, so he becomes a music teacher, and he deals with teacher stuff. He deals with the fact that his students are bored to death of him teaching about Johann Sebastian Bach and all this stuff. So he decides, you know what, in order to get through to my students, I'm going to teach them what they know and like, which is rock and roll, which in that school at that time is not something you want to get to. So the assistant principal, played by William H. Macy, is like, no, you can't do that. But he just is able to get the principal on his side, so he's able to teach the music the way he wants to. So you have him. You've got Olympia Dukakis, William H. Macy, Richard Dreyfuss, Glenn Headley, Leisha Witt, Jay Thomas, who's great as the gym teacher, who was in the Army and helps him get his marching band which is great. So I'll get into so basically, so Mr. Holland goes in and he decides to teach the kids rock and roll music as well as classical to get them, you know, all about music and into that. He also is the conductor of the band. So he, you know, they have band practices like that. And of course, you know, high school band is just, it's cringeworthy. And so they also say, hey, you know, we need more fans, stuff like that. Fans like marching bands. So start a marching band. So now Richard Dreyfuss, Mr. Holland, has started a marching band, but the people, he doesn't know how to teach marching because he doesn't know how to march. You just something you do, you know. It's hard to teach something that you know how to do. You know, it's like trying to teach my kids how to tie their shoes. You know, I can do it in a second, but they have a lot of trouble. They're like, "What do I?" You know? And so after a while, you're just gonna have to let them do it on their own. And my daughter has a very unique way of tying her shoes, but they're tied. So Jay Thomas, who plays the football coach, says, "I was in the Army. I can teach you how to march, and I just let me work on getting them to march. You have to do me a favor, though. I have a star recruit that I want on my team, and I think he's played by, oh God, what's his name? The guy who's on Empire now. Oh, see, this is gonna kill me. So I'm gonna check again. See, my phone is working, and I can check this shit out. Terrence. Terrence, come on, somebody help me out here. Kelly Toole, where are you when I need you? Let's find out. Terrence Howard, yes. Terrence Howard is a star recruit that can't play on his football or Jay Thomas's football or wrestling team. He wants him desperately because it's going to make his teams that much better. So he gets Mr. Holland says, I'll teach your guys how to march, but you got to help this kid pass music so he can get his grades up and he can stay on the team. And so he does, and we learn, you know, again, and Mr. Holland, it takes him a while, but eventually he's able to teach him how to do the drums. Alicia Witt plays a young woman who can never play the clarinet really well. Is the only one. The rest of the band seems to be doing okay, but she seems to be having a lot of trouble. And so he gleans on her and decides he's going to help her out. And it has one of my favorite lines of all time is that they start having private lessons and he tries to help her out and she keeps failing and he's exasperated. He doesn't know what else to do. And she's getting upset because she can see that he's getting upset. And she's also upset because her dad wanted her to play the clarinet and do all this stuff. And she feels like she's disappointing her dad. And so Mr. Holland is a really good teacher. So he steps back and says, okay, let me think about this, you know, and tries to talk to her. Why did you want to do this? What's your favorite thing about yourself? And so he says, what's your favorite thing about yourself? He says, it's my hair. It's a bright red. I mean, if you've seen Alicia Witt, her hair is extraordinarily red. She says, I like my hair because my dad compares it to a sunset. And Mr. Holland pauses, has two beats and goes, play the sunset. It's one of my favorite lines of all time. So she closes her eyes and she starts off bad, but then she starts getting into it. She starts playing the sunset, knowing that this is what she likes about herself because her dad likes this about, and before you know it, she becomes an amazing clarinet, and it's all because play the sunset. Great line. Richard Dreyfuss, Glenn Headley, Jay Thomas, Olympia Dukakis, William H. Macy, Alicia Witt, Joanna Gleason, Terrence Howard, Jean-Louis Kelly, Anthony Natale, Balthazar Getty. These are all actors in the film. And then we also learn, you know, he has a son. So Glenn Headley gets pregnant. They have a son. The son is deaf. So why don't you just add more shit onto Mr. Holland by making, you know, you're a musician. You want to have your son experience music and stuff like that. And now he's deaf and can't. So he's got to reconnect with his son. And he has a very hard relationship with his son that eventually works itself out as well. And then there's also a young starlet when Mr. Holland also takes over the musical. There's a young starlet who wants to have an affair with him. And he's getting older and he's been having trouble with his wife because of his deaf son. So he's tempted a little bit to have this affair with a student, but in the end, he does the right thing. It's a wonderful story, wonderful movie. If you've never seen it, and I haven't ruined everything, there's a whole lot of other stuff that happens in there. If you haven't seen everything, if you haven't seen this movie, that's another one you need to check out. Glenn Headley was a fantastic actress. She also did a run on ER, so you might have seen her on that. She played Noah Wiley's love interest, which was kind of weird, but even weirder was she was pregnant and was about 20 years his senior, but you never saw the pregnancy. It's just kind of weird. But rest in peace, Glenn Headley and Coach Buzz. Now, going from death to birth, let's give a huge mazel tov, a shout out, congrats, huzzah to George Clooney, who is now at the age of 60 something, 50, maybe 55, something like that, is now a dad with the beautiful and elegant Emile Clooney. The two of them, Emile did all the work basically, brought in twins Alexander and Ella. Thank God, actual movie stars who name their kids actual real names. Thank you, George Clooney and Emile. Alexander for the boy, Emma for the girl. Fantastic names for boy-girl twins. So you got two kids right off the bat. Now that got me thinking also, and I even mentioned Warren Beatty also, that George Clooney for the longest time was one of those people you thought was never going to get married, was going to be eternal bachelor, just the way that he seemed to have a different girlfriend every week and never seemed to settle down even as he got older. And you just assumed he was just going to be this bachelor for life, and then all of a sudden he meets this woman, Amal, who is, of all things, I think, a journalist. And something about Amal makes him give up the single life, and he proposes to her, and they get married. So people are like, it's not going to last long. And it does. And now they're parents. It's very interesting parallel to Warren Beatty. Warren Beatty, for the longest time, also was a womanizing bachelor for life type of thing. I mean, heck, during the making of Dick Tracy, which we talked about earlier, he had an affair with Madonna. It wasn't really an affair because he wasn't married to anybody. It was just he was dating Madonna, and he was dating some other chicks, all during his whole career. And again, he was one of those guys that you thought never going to get married. He's going to be a bachelor for life. So then he makes the movie. Oh God, my brain is not working because my phone has been driving me absolutely crazy. He makes the mob movie with Annette Bening. Again, if you can help me out, if you're faster than Wikipedia, let me know. Warren Beatty. There you are, William Beatty. Unless I get it. So he made a Bugsy. That's what it was. Bugsy, 1991. Year after Dick Tracy, actually. So he made Bugsy with Annette Bening. Annette Bening and him started dating. So again, everyone's automatically like, it's his next conquest, and she's not going to last long. That was 1991. Guess what? It's 2017, and they're still married. It just got me to thinking, is like, how does that happen to the bachelors? I mean, I know how it happened to me because Dawn's fantastic, and let's just say I'm not Warren Beatty, obviously, or George Clooney, no matter how much I'd like to be. I never really had too many relationships. And so I met Dawn, and we started dating, and we've been together almost 17 years now, which is amazing for me. And I got 2 kids. I got a house. I'm married. So I'm happy. I'm extraordinarily happy. And she's down in Atlanta right now, so I get to be a bachelor this weekend. But you know what? It's not all cake and ice cream, even though it was today with the kids, but that's besides the point. So it got me thinking, is like, how does that work? How do these eternal bachelors all of a sudden like that, click over and decide this woman has tamed me, and I would do anything for her to keep her. I don't feel the need to stray from her. I crave her. I need her in my life. I need her to be with me. I want to be married. I want to be legal, and I want to be with her forever. How does that happen? And it's an intriguing thought. It's like, how does something like that happen? And you got to start thinking. It's like Amal, who was a journalist, I think, for the longest time. She's probably been watching George Clooney's career for a while, before she met him, and saw how handsome he was, and watched him going through all this stuff. And she's like, you know what? It'd be kind of cool to date George Clooney sometime. And maybe then, and maybe if he started dating me, maybe I could be the one that could tame him and make him right. Or maybe she thought, it'd be nice to date him once, and then not think about it. And then all of a sudden, you're interviewing George Clooney, and he's got this. Whoa, this woman is amazing, and he starts flirting with you, and you're like, really? Okay, sure, why not? And you thought about it because you've seen him in these movies before, and you might have thought about him in other ways as well. And now all of a sudden, here you are, you're on a date with him, and now before you know it, guess what? You're married and you have 2 kids with him. That's crazy. Annette Bening, same way. Warren Beatty's been around since the 70s. Annette Bening is not that old. So she probably grew up watching some of his movies and like, wow, I kind of like Warren Beatty. He's kind of cool. And then she became an actress, and she's working with a whole bunch of different actors and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, she gets cast in Bugsy, and there's Warren. And Bugsy wasn't even directed by Warren. It was directed by Barry Levinson, from what I recall. And boom, sparks. And then before you know it, they've been together, 91 now? Let's see, 91, 2001, 2011. They've been together for 26 years. Whew. How does that happen? It's magic, I guess, or I don't know. Maybe not magic, because there's really not such a thing as a magic, but it's just really interesting that something just clicks. Either Clooney saw something like he's getting close to 60. He's never been married. He wants to settle down. Here's this gorgeous woman who's not that much younger. I mean, she's about 10 years younger. So she's in her 40s, I think, late 40s. I think she's older than I am. And there's just something about her. It's like, she's amazing. And now you're married, and then you have kids. Now, when you have kids with somebody, you are forever intertwined with that person. Even if you break up, even get divorced down the line, guess what? You have kids together. So you still have that history. You're going to have that history forever. For some people, it's not great because their exes are not really good people. But for others, it's just like, wow. It's crazy. It's crazy. Wow. It's just kind of interesting is that did they just hit the right notes? Did they just get them at the right time? Do they have the personalities that they are able to tame these wild ones? And maybe, just maybe, there's hope for those women out there who always see, if only I could go to this one guy who seems to be sleeping with everybody in the world, and if I went there, I'd be the one to make him monogamous. And that there's proof. There's 2. George Clooney and Warren Beatty, that the polygamous, not polygamous, that's a terrible word, the guy who's sleeping all over the place, doesn't have a long-term relationship with anyone, like that, is yours forever. How does that happen? I don't know. It's just kind of fascinating. It just made me think, it's kind of interesting. Boom, boom. Let's just, since we're on the film aspect of it, clean films. Sony is the first one to do this, and I guess I understand it. It just seems a little odd to me. What is a clean film? Sony announced this week that they will be releasing sanitized versions of their films. Basically, like the television cuts. cuts you see on ABC, NBC, CBS, maybe Sci-Fi somewhat, um, TNT, TBS. It's like, where before the advent of the internet and being able to get DVDs at very cheap prices, and before the advent of cable also, movies used to be released in theaters, and they stay in theaters for months because there weren't as many movies as there are now. And then they would leave the cinema, and then if it was a big movie like, say, a Star Wars or a Godfather or something like that, they would re-release it every couple years to get people to come back and watch it, because there was no other way for them to watch it at that time. And then eventually, a few years down the line, ABC, NBC, or CBS would have paid a fortune to show Star Wars on their network. And then they would make it a big to-do, because I don't know if you remember when Wizard of Oz came out, or Willy Wonka. That wasn't really a big one, but Wizard of Oz, Sound of Music, The Ten Commandments, these type of big movies, they would come out and air once a year. It's a Wonderful Life, before it got, sold to syndication and got all over the place. It would come out once a year, and it was an event. They would do advertising saying, Star Wars coming Saturday night, be there. Because you couldn't see Star Wars anymore. There was no videos. It might be on cable, but cable was expensive, and you might not have been able to afford cable. And there were no DVDs or videos yet. So it became an event. Dawn just let me know that she is in Atlanta. So awesome. I'm glad you're safe and sound. And it's weird. I got to change my, it's buzzing now. My text makes a different noise, but now it's just buzzing. That's cool. I'll fix it, because I got to fix my phone after the show. So it was the big event. It was like, okay, Wizard of Oz is coming out on Saturday, or Star Wars would be out on Friday night. And it was a big deal. People would go and they'd gather around the TV and they would watch Star Wars, or they would watch Wizard of Oz or Sound of Music. And then that was it for a year. And it got huge ratings. They got huge ratings. But then cable came in. Cable became more affordable. VCRs were invented, DVDs, and now the rest is history. Now a movie comes out in the movie theater, 3 months later, you can get it on DVD. That's about the right timing of it, right? Let me see. A Dog's Purpose, I was just talking about this earlier, came out in January. And it came out on DVD April or May. So that's 3 to 4 months, which means, they still might keep some of the big films off, but that means that Guardians of the Galaxy 2 will probably be out in August or September of this year on DVD. I can't remember when it would be. But, nowadays it comes out movie theater. You want to go see it in the movie theater sometimes opening night. A lot of times, a lot of people do. That's why they make, big box office. But then it's like, well, if I don't see it in the movie theater, it's not a big deal. I'll wait for it to be on video or on demand or Netflix or whatever. And then before you know it, bam, 3 months later, holy cow, Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is out on DVD. Fantastic. Boom. And now it's like, it's in my collection. It's like, oh, I feel like watching Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Boom. You put it in, you're watching it at home. No more of this big event. Now they try to do it. They still try to do the big event. Around Christmas time, they try to do the big event with, all the Christmas specials and, Charlie Brown and the Grinch and all that stuff. And they make a big deal about it. And they actually get good ratings. The Christmas specials get good ratings, which is kind of funny, because you can get any of those anywhere now and you can watch them over and over again. And you probably have, but it's just, there's something about watching them live sometimes just brings you back to your childhood, I guess. I don't know. But my point was, a movie like The Godfather, which has a lot of violence in it, in order for it to pass muster with the FCC, they had to do what we call a TV edit, where they would have to edit the language, edit the violence out, and sanitize it is the proper word for it, so that it went from a rated R movie to basically maybe a rated PG movie, because they left some of the violence in, but it wasn't as visual. Or like there's one scene in The Godfather where someone gets his eye blown out or gets shot in that general area. they would, or gets shot in the head. I forget what it is. It's either shot in the head or here. You would just hear the shot in the sanitized version, and that was it. You wouldn't see in the actual film version. You see it hit and the blood come out. So Sony decided that they want to release sanitized versions of their films, basically cutting out the sexual themes, the violence, the mega violence, the language, and clean it up so that families can watch those movies. Okay. I don't know if it's going to be successful. Because you'd think if a movie's rated PG-13 or rated R, you're not going to let your kids watch it anyway till they're a lot older. Like I've let my kids watch some PG-13 movies. I think they've seen all the Harry Potter movies because the Deathly Hallows was rated PG-13. They've seen all the Harry Potter movies. And they've seen Bill and Ted, which is PG, I think. They saw Spaceballs, which is PG-13. They've seen all the Star Wars movies, Revenge of the Sith. We're not showing them Revenge of the Sith yet because of the violence towards children, because that would still upset my son, I think. And my son also doesn't like a lot of scary monsters, so we haven't seen any of the Jurassic Park ones or anything like that. But they've seen some PG-13 films, and particularly in Spaceballs, which is one of their favorite movies. The shit is thrown out there. The F word is in there also once, and I always mute it when it comes on, and they know it's there, but they know it's there, but they don't hear it. That's the kind of thing. But shit is still said on the show. And my kids are good enough that they don't say that word. A couple of them are some of the good lines that has shit at the end, and then they use poop and stuff like that. Like, when he's like, comb the desert, and then he has, have you found anything? And the last guy's like, we ain't found shit. The kids go, we ain't found poop, or something like that. So they know that they're not supposed to say that words, but so that's okay. So you as a parent have to make sure that they're going to be old enough to watch it and not be too scared, and understand that these films are that's just other films. I showed my daughter The Martian. That's PG-13 also. But, in all the films we've shown them, I don't think there's been anything too gratuitously violent or sexual or anything like that. There's a lot of films we haven't shown them that are PG-13 that have those aspects to it, and we're not going to show them that till they're much older. Even 16 Candles, which is rated PG, I'm not ready to show my daughter yet. I would love to, because I love the movie, and I think she would like it a lot too. But there's just something about it that says, I don't want to do it just yet. It could be the themes. It could be the language. I don't know. So, look, I understand. You want to watch some of these other movies, the clean versions of it. You don't want to see this violence or the language or the sexual stuff. I get it. I understand. And it's up to you. I mean, Sony's not getting rid of the real versions of these films. You're going to still be able to get them anytime you want. Now, some of the things they're doing is a couple of things I've heard is they're going to re-release some of their movies with both versions, which is cool because you get movies like Logan, which has the regular cut on it, and then they did a black and white version of it, and then there's also a version of like The Abyss, which I love also. They have the extended version and the regular version on there. So if you don't want to watch the extended version, you can watch the regular version, So there's some films that they re-edit or they do director's cuts or whatever, and they were really re-releasing them. Now, from what I've heard, some of the companies are going to be releasing the film again on DVD, but they're also an added feature is going to be they're going to add the clean version of the film. So you can choose between the clean version or the regular version. And then there's also talk that Sony's also going to release the clean versions on their standalone discs. So you can get, and it'll be marked as being clean version. It's not going to be, hey, here's 2 copies of The Martian. One is clean and one isn't, but we're not going to tell you which one. You're going to have to take a guess or buy them both. No, they'll say clean version or whatever. They'll have plenty of advertising for that. So I'm okay with it. Just as long as you don't make it the end all be all. Like a good example is E.T. A couple years ago, it was probably maybe 2012, maybe when it was, or 2002 or something like that, when it was going through its anniversary. Spielberg re-edited it so that no police officers would have guns; they would have walkie-talkies, and that's just dumb. They also added some extra scenes in it as well. But what Spielberg did, though, is he re-released the film E.T. and had both versions on it. So if you wanted the regular version, you can get that. But if you wanted the new version, which was more kid-friendly or family-friendly or whatever, you could get that one also, so you could watch them both. To me, it really doesn't bother me. It's just as long as you don't make it erase the movie that's already out, that says this is the end, like Lucas has been trying to do with Star Wars when he redid the versions of Star Wars Empire and Return of the Jedi and added that new footage on it. He was adamant about refusing to release the old versions. And now that it's been sold to Disney, Disney's toying with the idea of re-releasing the original versions out on disc. So I don't know. As long as you don't do that, you can do whatever the heck you want. I don't care. I just find it kind of odd and kind of funny that they are releasing clean versions of these films when it's up to the parents in the end to determine what your kids watch and think they'll be able to watch it, and they should be able to watch it in all its glory. Now, I understand when it comes to religious aspects and stuff like that, you want to cut some stuff out, and that's fine. As I said, I have no problem with you doing that, just as long as you do not say this is the end-all be-all movie and the other version doesn't exist anymore. That would be just dumb. So what's up next? You know what? Let's talk about some other cool stuff. Some little newsworthy things. We'll just go down these three newsworthy things. Well, one is like a double whammy type of thing. I'm a big space geek. Space geese. Dun, dun, dun. No, I'm a big space geek. I love outer space. I truly believe that we should be exploring outer space more. I believe we should be sending men to Mars, men and women, I should say, to Mars, back to the moon. We should be exploring everything. We should be sending probes to Titan and rovers to Titan and rovers to other planets, submarines to Europa and all these different places. We need to explore. We need to go back to Pluto. We need to have a major event on Pluto. We got to go back and get some more pictures of Uranus and Neptune, maybe get some Mercury and Venus stuff in there as well. Even go to the sun. You need to get more into outer space. So I wrote a blog a few years ago that NASA was slowly declining in what they were doing. And it's understandable considering all the things that they've had to deal with before. I mean, Space Shuttle no longer exists. They've had 2 major space shuttle crashes, which killed astronauts and pushed back the space program years. I mean, I truly believe if Challenger never happened and Columbia never happened, that we probably would be getting close to sending people to Mars by now, by this point in 2017. But it didn't happen. But now with all the technology out there now, and I'm still fascinated by how they're able to do this. Scientists have been discovering exoplanets, which are planets outside of our solar system. Now, for the longest time, we only knew of the 9 planets. And yes, Pluto is a planet. I don't care what any of you guys say. Pluto is a freaking planet. End of story. Those 9 planets in our solar system were the end-all, be-all planets. And then gradually people said, there's got to be more planets out there. And the technology never really got to that point until maybe in the 90s. And that's when the floodgates opened and they started discovering planet after planet after planet after planet. Now, just using telescopes and weird paths and the way the stars seem to fade out a little bit, that they can predict that there's a planet. And they're able to get minute details. Like, we know what's in the atmosphere. We know that it's a water planet. We know that it's rock. We know that it's a gas giant. We know how big it is. I still don't know how they figure that out, but that's not for me. I'm not a scientist. I'm not an astronomer. It's their job. They know what they're doing. So I just go with what they're saying. And honestly, they're probably right most of the time. So exoplanets now are a big deal. They've discovered millions of them. Literally, they've discovered millions of exoplanets now. and they discover new ones all the time. Some are real small, some are bigger than Jupiter, some are Earth-like, some are not, you know. And so whenever they discover one of these things or they discover something new about these planets, they always release it on Twitter or Facebook. And it is always interesting to see, now read these articles because, as I said, I'm a space junkie. So this week alone, there were 2 stories that came out about exoplanets. And both of them are fascinating in their own right. The first one is exoplanet WASP 126. This planet is like 3 times the size of Jupiter, so it's way bigger than Jupiter. But it is also one of the hottest planets ever discovered because it is only 1.8 million miles from their sun. To give you a little bit of an idea, Mercury is 35.9 miles away from the sun. This planet, WASP 126, is 1.8 million miles away. 1.8 million miles away? 39. A big difference, isn't there? It's extraordinarily hot. I think it's 2,000 to 2,500 Kelvin. I think that's what the K stands for, is Kelvin. So I guess it's really, really hot. And they know that, again, as I said, they just, the planet, the size of the star, where the planet is located, blah, 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 that's its rotation around it. They know what it's like. But they've discovered that they have kind of like clouds. There's clouds on this planet. It's like, how the hell can that happen? Aren't clouds made of water? Well, yeah, here on Earth they are. But there's something called there's an aluminum oxide called commendrum. I think, I can't read my writing. It's a commendrum or something like that, which is the base for rubies and sapphires. Those jewels that you've seen before. So basically, these clouds on WASP 126 are basically made of rubies and sapphires. Pretty cool, huh? I mean, it's similar to Titan. It rains gasoline on Titan. Literally, it rains gasoline. If you had a car and you were on Titan and you needed gas, you would have just create something that could pick up the rain and you get your gas. Not making it up. There's also a planet made entirely of diamonds. That's not a fake news either. That is real news. But it's really fascinating that there will be, if you go to this planet and you see clouds of rubies and sapphires, that's really kind of wild, isn't it? And then it gets better. The other planet that was discovered this week, Kelt 9b, is 3 times more massive than Jupiter, so another one bigger than Jupiter. This one orbits a blue star, which apparently, even though you thought blue flame was not as hot as other flames, is actually one of the hottest stars out there, apparently, according to the scientists. And the way that the planet rotates is one side of the planet is constantly in darkness and one is constantly in the light. Now, the one that's constantly in light is 7,820 degrees Fahrenheit on the surface. That's higher than the sun. Actually, not really. That's just a line from Real Genius. I just wanted to throw in there. But because it's so hot and it does have an atmosphere, it's burning off the atmosphere so that if you were looking at the planet from outer space, it would look like a giant comet because it has a tail, the gas coming off of the planet. Now, it's not moving like a comet. It's rotating around the star. But while it's rotating around the star, it's got a comet tail coming off of it. That's really quite cool. And it gets even cooler, too. Now, they're also saying because of the proximity to the star and because of the chemicals and the way that the atmosphere is getting blown off, burned off, I should say, from the planet, the day side would be bright orange. I'm assuming the sky and the ground, so like we have blue skies, it would be dark orange. dark orange skies. I guess it'd be, I mean, constant sunset, I guess, if you want to see a good example of what it would be all the time on that planet is like a dark orange. And on the dark side, the sky would be a dark red. And then you would see the gas evaporating off of the planet, forming the comet tail of the planet. That would be violet. So basically, you'd be on the dark side. The sky would be dark red, that juicy blood red type of thing. And then all of a sudden, you see this clouds of violet, just pretty cool, huh? Science is really cool. Astronomy is really cool. So I'm going to see if I can keep finding these things. These are both really interesting stories. I posted the articles on my Facebook page. If you want to read the articles, I got them from. So check that out. This is kind of a story, and it makes me, I understand it, but it makes me weep for this kid. Because he's complaining about something I admit I like to look at. A kid in high school, I guess, posted a letter in Alberta, Canada hallway, basically saying to the girls in his class to stop dressing like a tot. I don't know what a tot was till I looked it up. It's that hoe over there. The reason why he wants them to stop dressing like that hoe over there, I guess with seeing the bra straps or nice cleavage or the really, really tight shorts, is because it's distracting to the males who are trying to get an education. And he ends the line, where is it? He ends the line with, if you should value the male education and dress conservatively. Dude, shut the fuck up. I had to pull the F gun up because this kid is a fucking idiot. First of all, as long as your school doesn't have a strict dress code, girls can wear whatever the fuck they want to. So should you. You should be able to wear whatever the hell you want to wear. I'll admit, I'd like to see women with a little bit of cleavage and the breasts emphasized and the short shorts and maybe a midriff or even the bra strap a little bit, because I'm a guy. I'm constantly thinking about sex. I'm constantly horny. And that's not really a secret. I'm never going to cheat on my wife because I love my wife too much, but there are women that I work with that I just have to, and I'll admit it, this is embarrassing. I look at them every once in a while. I was like, wow, that's nice. Is it distracting? Maybe a little bit, but you know what? After that, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to cheat on my wife. I love my wife. I'm not going to do that. I get to look at her too, and I love what she looks like too. But this kid it's distracting him from his schoolwork. Yes, education is extraordinarily important. But if you can't keep your mind off of the hot chick in your classroom to study, you got some issues, man. As I said, I might check out some of the chicks I work with. I check out my wife all the time. Does it distract me? Maybe for a brief second. But then I realize, oh, wait, I have work to do. I can't stand here and gawking. Plus, it's embarrassing to me. It's embarrassing to the woman who I'm gawking at, because she's like, what is that weird old dude looking at me for? So, yes, it's distracting, but you need to focus. It's not that hard. And women can wear whatever the hell they want to. I don't care. As long as there's not a strict dress code. Now, if there's a strict dress code that says you can't wear shorts this long, or rather, I'm sorry, this short, or you can't show bra straps, or you can't show your midriff or whatever, well, then, yeah, then you need to follow the rules of the school. Just because you're a hot chick doesn't mean you can break the rules. You might think you can, but you can't. And if that's the case, then yeah, that letter is perfectly fine. But from what I read of the article, there might be a slight dress code, but nothing at all like, well, you can't wear this and you can't wear that. You can't show this. You can't show that. No, it's just like you need to watch what you're wearing, But they're not going to knock you. I mean, they're going to, if you're wearing an offensive shirt or if they can see under boob or side boob or whatever, or even the dreaded camel toe for that matter, then maybe you're like, well, maybe you should change. And by that point, it's like, you know what? Despite the fact that I might like how that looks, it does. It's you shouldn't be dressing like that. Now, look, if it's hot, I understand. I've already lost all my viewers, so they don't want to hear of this speaking about dress codes and me being a horny old goat. It's fine. I don't care. It boggles my mind. I mean, what if, a woman was in the same spot? What if a guy came in with a wife beater and had pecs and shit like that? It was distracting to them. Now, would they regularly say, you're distracting me with your manliness? I don't think so. Because women are a lot smarter than men, and they're not as I don't know the proper word for it. Horny, I guess. I don't know. Oh well. But I just wanted to get that. I just found that to be kind of an interesting story. That a kid in high school, when you're at your sexual peak, when you want to see girls like that, and they let you, and that's why they're dressing. In some cases, they want to show off their assets. Are they teasers? Possibly, maybe, or maybe they want to have you ask them out, or have someone ask them out, which actually segues perfectly into my next story. See how good I am at this? 194 episodes. Look at what I'm doing. And all the people have already missed out on it. They got bored with it. Literally, thanks, guys, for watching for the last hour and a half. You guys were great. I'm going to wrap this up in about another half hour. But a good segue. It was a perfect segue. My point was that, some of these girls, it's hot. So yeah, they're gonna dress in tank tops and really short shorts because they're freaking hot. Heat is disgusting. I hate the summer. And it's too hot. And if your school's not air conditioned, it's even worse. You're sweating and you can't concentrate on the heat and stuff like that. So you're gonna want to wear shorts and show as much skin as you can because it's fucking hot. Not in the way that it makes you horny, as in it's I need to be cool because I'm sweating like a pig here. And then there are those that are dressing because they want to show off their assets and try to get someone to come and ask them out on a date. And I said that segues to my next story. I listened to Jack FM. I talked about this on my show last month with Jared, and we were talking our 1980s film, our 80s music. And I didn't mention this song on there, but it is a good 80s song, and it is from the movie Fast Times at Ridgemont High. But I wanted to talk about the song itself. I've done this a few times as well, where I've taken a look at the lyrics of the song and have made some snide remarks about it in the case of the like Pina Coladas, the Pina Colada song, as it were. In this case, it's Somebody's Baby by Jackson Browne. Now, a lot of people think they use this in Fast Times when, oh God, Phoebe Cates comes out of the swimming pool in Judge Reinhold's Daydream, and she whips off her top. No, it's not. It's actually during a sex scene between the bastard character and the sexually naive sexual character who isn't Phoebe Cates, and they're having sex for the first time. That's where the song comes into. But if you dig into the lyrics, like I do, because the Jack 102.7 FM here in Baltimore, they play the same songs every day. It just appears to be at different times. They don't play the same song in one day, but it's on a computer, so it's on a cycle. They have a playlist and they just play it, and it might, so somebody's baby might air at 10 a.m. on Monday, then at like 2:15 on Tuesday, and then 7:05 p.m. on Wednesday, and then 9 a.m. on Thursday. You get my point. And then 11:30 on Friday, something like that. So you'll hear it at different times during the day, during the week. And sometimes, depending on your mindset, particularly at my job, you're either at a point where you're brain dead and you're just listening and you're not hearing anything. It's all background noise, or you're working and you're in the zone and it just comes into your head and you start thinking about things. That's sort of like what Somebody's Baby did for me. So it's one of the songs that they play all the time, as I said. And yes, it brings back memories of Fast Times at Ridgemont High for me. But I've been listening to the lyrics the last couple times. And it's basically a song about a gorgeous, beautiful woman who every guy is afraid to ask out, even though they want to, even though they're horny for her or they want to date her, they want to love her. They're afraid to ask her for a couple of reasons. One, she appears to be out of their league, absolutely stunningly gorgeous, amazingly sexy. And two, it would be a crime, not a crime, but someone that beautiful, that sexy, who could have any guy in the world, probably already does have that guy in the world and has a boyfriend. So you're already out of the league because you're out of her league because you're a loser and she's a stunning, gorgeous goddess. And because she's a stunning, gorgeous goddess, she probably has a boyfriend. Now, that's what's going through the minds of the people who are watching this woman going by. Now, Jackson is singing the song, and it's from his perspective, but you also get perspectives from everybody else, because he's saying, in general, everyone thinks that she's somebody's baby, that they're out of her league, and they're not even going to try. But Jackson's obsessed with her. He cannot get her out of his mind. And he's trying to will himself to go and ask her out, or at least try. If she's dating somebody, hey, I'll know and I'll back off. But what if she isn't? What if she isn't? And what if she's looking for a boyfriend? Maybe she hasn't had a boyfriend in a long time. Maybe she just broke up with her boyfriend. Maybe she's been without a boyfriend for a while. Maybe she might be so stunningly gorgeous that nobody asks her out because everybody thinks she's out of their league. That could be a problem for those gorgeous women out there. A lot of them, you don't know what's going through their minds. A lot of times you don't know, unless you physically see them with somebody else, you don't know if they're dating somebody. They might not be. They might be more lonely than you because they are so stunningly gorgeous, and they might not know it because they're not egotistical, but they're like, what's wrong with me? Why isn't any guy asking me out? Am I too ugly? Am I not attractive enough? Am I not fun enough? No, it's because everyone thinks, and it's where the communication lies, everyone thinks that you're too good for them. And that if a dork like me would come up to this gorgeous goddess and say, hey, you want to go out to eat a pizza or go to the movies or something like that, you're going to laugh in my face or say, sorry, dude, I got a boyfriend. Or you're ugly. I don't want to go out with you. Fuck off. Those are what's going through people's minds. But Jackson in this song is so obsessed with her that he's like, you know what? He's trying to build himself up. He's like, you know what? I've never seen her with anybody. I see her all the time. But she never appears to be with a dude. So maybe, just maybe, there's that glimmer of hope that maybe she doesn't have a boyfriend. And maybe if I go up to her and say, hey, do you want to go for pizza? You want to go for a movie? Maybe she'll be like, yeah, that'd be great. And then she can be your baby. And it ends with him actually going up to her, asking her out, and she says yes. And now he is her baby. I bet you didn't know that. Or maybe you did. That's pretty cool. That's my interpretation of the song. I could be absolutely way off the mark on that, but if you listen to the lyrics and listen to what he's saying, you read between the lines. To me, that seems to be the general idea. Now, this song in the end, as I mentioned before, I've never been Mr. Popular. I've never had a lot of dates. I dated one other woman seriously, and it was for 4 months, not 17 years like I have been my wife. And I've had, little flings here and there, but nothing so serious. So I've never really had a lot of relationships. But I could tell you that I was a lot like Jackson Browne or the people in the song who see a gorgeous woman and think, there's no way in hell that she's going to go out with me because she's probably already got a boyfriend. And I don't want to make things weird. I'll give you a good example. My 9th grade, I had a huge crush on a girl I sat next to in English class in 6th period. And as I said, I've never been good at trying to ask people out. The funny thing is, I never asked out my first girlfriend in college. I was girding myself up to it, and I was going to do it that night, but she beat me to it, and she asked me out first. And then I was set up with Dawn by a mutual friend of ours. So I didn't actually physically say, hey, you want to go out on a date? I said, hey, do you want to come check out this thing that I was doing for the radio station? I guess you could say that was considered, but we wouldn't have gotten together if it wasn't for our mutual friend. So there's this girl, and my problem is I became obsessed with this girl through all 4 years of high school. Now, I didn't stalk her. I'm not that big of a loser or creep. But my freshman year, I absolutely loved it because she sat next to me the whole year in English class, and we walked from 6th period to 7th period every day. But I never got the balls up to ask her out, even though I wanted to so badly. And then sophomore year, I didn't have any classes with her, so I was watching her from afar. She went into chorale, and I didn't. And every once in a while, I'd see her, dressed in her sexy dress that she wore for singing, and I was like, damn, I should, But I hadn't talked to her, so it was almost as if I didn't exist, and she didn't talk to me, so it was almost like I didn't exist. And same thing in junior year, same thing in senior year. Now, senior year was a little bit different because I hung out with a lot more. I had a group of friends I hung out with. There was a girl I was interested in that group, so I wasn't as obsessed with this one girl as much in my senior year. Plus, my senior year, and I knew I was going to be going to college anyway, and I wasn't going to see any of these people anymore. So what's my point? I don't know. It's 11:04 p.m. But it made me think that why couldn't I have gotten the balls up to do what Jackson Browne does in Somebody's Baby and ask this girl who I think is out of my league out on a date? And what if I did that? What if is a big thing in my life? What if I did this? What if I did that? Well, your life wouldn't be the way it is now, probably. And is that a bad thing? No, because I love my life right now. I wish I had more money, but that's besides the point. That's not something I can control. I'm happy with my gorgeous wife, who I miss, who's in Atlanta with our buddies. My 2 beautiful kids upstairs who drive me to drink sometimes, but I would do anything for them. And it's really hard for me because I think my son is going through what I went through when I was around his age. I think he's getting a little bullied a little bit, or no one plays with him that much, and it breaks my heart. But I don't know, because whenever I try to ask him what's going on, he always seems to say everything's okay. He seems to open up to my wife a little bit more, which is fine. He likes his mom better, which is cool. I'm okay with that. But I love my son and I love my daughter. I love my wife. I love my house. I love my cat. I love my family. My job's okay. I love doing this show. But what if I did all this other stuff? What if I asked a girl out in high school? What if I stayed with the girl I was with in college for a few more years than 4 months? What if I got a different job? What if is big. I've done a show on what ifs before. I've never really done one on what if about myself. The one I did about myself, what if I was single? What if I never met Dawn or it never worked out between me and Dawn? I would probably be doing this show from my apartment. I might even be doing this show because Dawn and I were, we were both tweeting the stupid sci-fi movies that I don't know if I would be doing that if I was by myself. I might be reading comics or watching movies, and I might not have been watching any of these sci-fi films. So I might not have been doing this show, but you know what? I might be doing this show from my own apartment instead of doing it from my house, which I just learned we're going to have a major facelift on. Thank you to my father-in-law and my mother-in-law who are paying for a new doorway and some other stuff as well. It's going to start on Monday, so it's going to be crazy. So, and Dawn and I got to get back to cleaning out the basement down here because it's a disaster, as you can tell. So it just made me think, what if I would have done what Jackson Browne did and decided, you know what? Let me just ask the girl out. The one that everyone thinks is out of your league. Maybe she wouldn't be out of your league. That was a good segue. What do we got here? It's 11:08. I've been pushing this a little bit. It's a big thing, and it's about comics also. Batman and Catwoman. Let's talk a little bit about their history. I do another show called The Comic Hall, and I did my latest episode yesterday. So if you haven't seen it, check out The Comic Hall. Go to my YouTube page, type in Dylan Lang. I'm probably going to be the first person that pops up in the search engine. Click on that, go to my playlist, go to The Comic Hall. I have a playlist, also playlist for all my Dylan Knows and my Snarkalic Radio appearances and snooze appearances. Go to the Comic Hall, scroll down to the very bottom. You'll have the newest episode out there. I also posted on my Facebook and Twitter yesterday, so you can go back through my mentions and you'll probably find them eventually. But Batman number 24 came out yesterday, and it's a game changer. Tom King, who's been writing Batman since the Rebirth started last year, has been building a specific story that he wants to do. He wants to change Batman's persona, per se, in a logical and believable way. It's not just, I'm a new writer and I want to make this change and I'm going to do it and it's just going to come out of nowhere. No, he's been building to this spot through all of his story arcs he's been doing. Catwoman has been playing a big part in this series. And finally, there was an issue of the comic where all basically is a 2-issue storyline called Rooftops. It just basically details the relationship between Batman and Catwoman now in Rebirth. And it included sex on the rooftop between them. So they're having sex, which is cool. That's awesome. Batman and Catwoman. They've been intertwined with each other since the beginning. And that's one of the things I want to talk about a little bit in this history. But a new piece of the history is being done right now. And I would recommend this weekend going to your local comic book store and trying to pick up issue number 24, Batman, and get this issue, because in this issue, it's a standalone, so you really don't need to know. You might want to, because it's been a great run, you might want to go back and read the trades and read some of the other stuff. But in this issue alone, here's a spoiler. At the end of the issue, Batman proposes marriage to Catwoman. Now, we're not going to find out what her answer is right away because the next story arc is going to take place in the past. So I don't know if he's just going to do that story arc and then after that he'll come back to this one, or he's going to intertwine it with this one. I'm not exactly sure. Tom King is going to surprise me. He's been doing a hell of a job. So has Peter Tomasi on the Superman book. So go to your local comic store, buy Batman number 24. It's a big issue. So it got me thinking is, let's think about Batman and Catwoman's life. And we'll just talk about it briefly because I only got about another 20 minutes. And I think there's one or two other things I want to discuss. Um, Batman and Catwoman have been intertwined with each other since the beginning. I mean, if you even want to go back to the 1966 TV series, we had the three different ones: Eartha Kitt, and she's the only one that jumps out of my mind. And my friend Gary's going to kill me because I can't remember who the other ones are. But there were three different actors who played Catwoman, and Adrian Barbeau. No, you know this again. I gotta go refer back to this. I gotta figure this out. There was some sort of. I mean, it wasn't because it was a family show. There was maybe a little bit of sexual tension between them, but you couldn't do much about it because it was a kids show. And the comics had been, building up the relationship between them for a while. And everybody who comes onto the book usually has the two of them hooking up in some form or another. I mean, they did a storyline not too long ago, Jeff Loeb did, called Hush, where Batman revealed his identity to Catwoman, which he keeps to the vest, where who he is. But in this, he had to do it because he wanted to start a relationship with Selina. It didn't quite turn out as expected, but it was still there. And then in the New 52, I think it was New 52, or was it before the New 52? It was before the New 52. There was a story arc where Selina got pregnant, not by Batman, but by others, by another guy. And Batman decided under the Bruce Wayne guise that he was going to create a college tuition pay college tuition for her kid, because that's how much he respected her. I'm just talking about the different stories that she's done and stuff like that. I'm trying to see. It was Eartha Kitt, and it's killing me that I can't think of all these other ones. So other media is probably where it is. Catwoman and other media. Okay, television. Here we go. Julie Newmar, Lee Merriweather, and Eartha Kitt. Okay, thank you. That was easy. And then I think Adrian Barbeau did the voice of Catwoman in the Batman animated series. Michelle Pfeiffer played her in Batman Returns, directed by Tim Burton, starring Michael Keaton. And then Anne Hathaway played her in the Nolan universe. I don't think we've seen Catwoman yet in the Ben Affleck series. And in the TV show Birds of Prey, the Huntress was the daughter of Catwoman and Batman. So in Batman's history, he's been intertwined with Catwoman. And every writer somehow gets them into a relationship or treats their relationship as like a sexual perversity type of thing. Not perversity, but like a sexual type of thing. And when we got into later years, Judd Winnick was told to write Catwoman as more sexy, and so there was the first issue of her new series before the New 52 started. No, there was the New 52, where her and Batman have sex in their costumes. And then before that, Catwoman and Batman, as I said, they were a couple in Hush, but that ended very quickly after that. But Batman still respected Catwoman enough that he let her run a part of Gotham because she was running it properly. I mean, she wasn't being control freak or power freak. She was just keeping people safe, and he would call upon her every once in a while to help her out, and she gladly did. And she had her own creative teams and stuff like that, and own helpers to help her and stuff like that. And so there's been a lot of different variations on Catwoman's character. Jim Balent did a series with her, which was really, really good. And Ed Brubaker and Darwin Cook did some stuff as well. And she doesn't have her own book now, but Tom King has been using her pretty much only in Batman. I don't think anybody else has really been using her that much. She's been teamed up with Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn, stuff like that before. So she's all over the place. So she still does some criminal stuff, and she still is like a Robin Hood, robs from the rich to give to the poor, that type of thing. And so they've had this dance throughout history. John Byrne did an Elseworld story, which was not, which is alternate reality, where Catwoman and Batman got married and had kids, and then generations basically followed their kids as they grew up, and then they had families and stuff like that. But Catwoman and Batman were the parents of these kids in generations. In Earth 2, Batman and Catwoman were the parents of the Huntress. As I said, the TV show Birds of Prey that came out in the early 2000s had that same situation where the Huntress was Batman and Catwoman's daughter. As Michelle Pfeiffer was Catwoman in Batman Returns. She was probably the best part of that film because I did not like Danny DeVito's Penguin. He was too grotesque for me. If he was more like the Burgess Meredith Penguin, maybe not the wah, 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 but was a crime lord who ran the city as like a crime boss, Danny DeVito would have been fantastic if he was just playing Danny DeVito, but not this grotesque wah, 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 type of penguin-esque type of guy, which I understand why Tim Burton did it. That's how Tim Burton does things, and it was still kind of interesting, but Michelle Pfeiffer stole that movie and was fantastic. And then Anne Hathaway didn't do a bad job in the Nolanverse. The Nolanverse, she kind of was handcuffed with trying to make it more realistic. So they made her more of the cat burglar who had a relationship with Bruce Wayne. So there was always, as I said, there was always that underlying thing. Batman Long Halloween, Selina and Bruce Wayne were dating before they knew each other, were Catwoman and Batman. So they were dating each other about that. And then there have been rumors that Selina Kyle, and during those Jeff Loeb stories, was the daughter of a crime boss. So they focused on that. So she's had her own series before, and she's had many different writers and many different artists, and they've always done kind of a sexual aspect to her, but they've also made her a really good friend to Batman and a good teammate. If he needs her, she's done a good job. And then Tom King has just been nailing their relationship in this comic and has been doing a great job with Batman. And now this proposal, and I don't want this proposal to end. I want them to get married. I want them to have a relationship. I want them to do that stuff. Is it going to happen? I don't know. I don't know what Tom King's got up his sleeve, but I would love to see a Batman Catwoman sort of relationship bloom and come. And it makes sense in the story Tom King is telling, the progression of Batman's character. It's not just something he decided to throw on them. It's a logical progression about where he's going with the character because of what's been happening in the book, which you need to check out. So definitely go to your local comic book store, pick up Batman number 24, and pick up all the other Tom King Batmans. And while you're there, pick up some Peter Tomasi Superman as well. You won't be disappointed. So they have a history. This is just the next logical step. They've been married before. They've had kids together before in other aspects of it. And to me, no offense, Anne Hathaway, Michelle Pfeiffer still kicks ass as Catwoman. We're not even going to talk about Halle Berry. That's just not something we're going to talk about. I'm not going to talk about Halle. We're not going to mention Halle at all. All right. Unpopular opinion, a guilty pleasure, and then I'm going to bed. An unpopular opinion. I like to throw these out every once in a while. These two I will wait till my comic show. So even though I keep bringing it up, I'm not going to do it right now. I do unpopular opinions every once in a while. A good example of my unpopular opinions, we were just talking about Batman. I hate the Joker. I think he's an overplayed villain. He's good in small bits, but every writer who comes on board Batman needs to tell a Joker story or 20. And because Tom King has been doing such a great job on Batman, for me, his next story arc involves the Joker, but also involves the Riddler, who's my favorite. So a Riddler Joker storyline written by Tom King, I'll wait and see how that goes. I'll still buy it. I'll still read it. I hope I'll like it. I was excited to see what Scott Snyder was going to do with his first Joker story. He did okay. It wasn't one of my favorites. And it's like, okay, so he tells his Joker story, and then he brings Joker back for like another additional 20 some episodes. It's like, okay, that's too much. You don't need to have that much Joker, really, honestly. You don't. You don't need to tell all these damn Joker stories. He has a huge rogues gallery. You need to start focusing more on them and not just a Joker. And that goes for every writer who comes on. Yes, I know you want to tell a Joker story. It's your favorite because it makes you go absolutely apeshit crazy. You can do whatever the hell you want because Joker's insane. But there are other characters out there, other villains that Batman takes care of. And you know what would be unique? Why don't you create a new rogue for him? Oh my God. What a great idea. So that's an example of an unpopular opinion I've done before. The one I have now is every time I see a story about this, I cringe. I love the Harry Potter novel series. I love the movies also. But reading the fanatics of Harry Potter fanatics on Twitter and Facebook, everyone seems to be obsessed with wanting to see stories about the Marauders, or they do little jokes about the Marauders, and it makes me cringe every time I hear it. The Marauders are Harry's dad, Sirius Black, Lupin, and Pete. For Harry Potter fans, you'll know who I'm talking about. For those who haven't seen Harry Potter, what's the matter with you? You read and find out who these characters are. They were the gang in when they were at Hogwarts, and they mercilessly tortured Snape, which in some cases, some of the stuff that he did, he deserved it, and some of the things that he did, he deserved it. But I think the Marauders went too far every once in a while in their hatred of him, maybe because they were bullying him a little bit, and I hate bullies. But everybody that I read on Facebook and Twitter who are Harry Potter fans, they always want to see a Marauder story, or they come up with their own Marauder stories, or they make their own little jokes or whatever. And every time I see them, I'm cringe. Is like, no, please stop doing this. Yes, they had a lot of fun together. They were a great group of guys, but they were bullies. They were dicks. They were assholes. They weren't. They weren't like Fred and Ron, Fred, Charlie, like the Weasley brothers. I can't think of the other ones right now. They weren't like they weren't like the Weasley brothers. They would go out and they would cause havoc and mayhem, and they were freaking hilarious. Fred and George, thank you. Fred and George Weasley. They were amazing. I want to see stories about them because they were just crazy. The Marauders to me just seemed like they thought they were the shit, and that they ruled the school, and that they were kind of dicks to other kids. But they think it's the coolest thing to have these guys together. And I hate any Marauder stories that I see or mentions that the fanatics do for Harry Potter. I don't want to see stories about Marauders. It's an unpopular opinion. I know a lot of people love the Marauders. I don't. I don't want to see a Marauder story. I ignore whenever the word Marauder shows up on my feed. It just doesn't interest me because the characters are dicks. They have issues, and I don't want to see that. All right, finally, guilty pleasure, Yankee candles. I've talked about guilty pleasures before, but I love myself some Yankee candles. Now, I used to, when Dawn and I were first dating before we had kids and we were living together, we used to get candles all the time from Yankee Candles. We'd light them every night and just have the scent waft through the candle, then blow out the candle later the day. But then as we got kids and stuff like that, you can't have open flames sitting around and you get worried about stuff. So we haven't had the candles out so much. But now I still like to go to Yankee Candle because I still like to smell the candles. Excuse me. They come up with new flavors all the time. And it's fun to smell what they've come up with. And some of them are really, really good. And some of them smell so good. And then we were in there a while back, and they have the wall scent things. There's one in the way back. You really can't see it. See where the heater thing is. There's one right over there. We've 3 of those. And you get the smell of the candle without the candle, and it's great. The vineyard is one of our favorites. It very smells like grapey, winey type of stuff, and it's fantastic. That's in our family room. There's a really good lemon in our bathroom, and then there's this one down here, which it's such a big room. I don't know if it's actually working that much. I don't really smell anything, but we'll see. I'll take a look at it later on. But I just like going into a Yankee candle store and just seeing all the colors of the candles and lifting the candles up and opening the tops and getting a whiff of the smell and the names you get, like Juicy Apple or Sun and Surf, which we also have 4 actually. I think about we have one in the bathroom also. Sun and Surf or Mountain Cabin, you know, stuff that makes you think a lot of cool stuff about a lot of cool things. They produce candles with those smells. So that's my guilty pleasure. I like going into the Yankee candle place. I like smelling of the candles. I would like to buy them. Hi, Jinx. My cat's down here. I'd like to buy all the candles and have them all going at one time with flames, melting the wax and the scent and stuff like that. These wall units will just have to do for now. I wish this one would be a little bit more stronger, but yeah, what am I going to do? Maybe get another one and put it in that socket over there. I don't know. So I think that's it for today. I got my guilty pleasure in there. I covered pretty much everything I was going to. There were a couple other things I wanted to talk about, but I can push those off to my comic show. Next week is Father's Day. I don't know what's going on. I'm going to do a show. I just don't know if it's just going to be me again, or if I'll be able to get Jerry on board or even get MJ back on. Well, we have to wait and see. But just follow me on my Twitter at Holodill and at Dylan Proco. Down there at the bottom of the screen, you can see that. Thanks again to Scott McDonald for helping me get my phone fixed. So I'm good on the phone. Just got to put it all back together again and recharge it down to 57%. So thank you, Scott. I will keep that in mind. I will probably favorite that tweet you gave me. You told me how to fix it. And if it happens again, I'll try it again. So I don't have to go to the phone store now. Yes. Guys and gals on Snark Stock, you have a great time. You get drunk, get wasted, whatever, but don't get arrested. Don't get lost. Don't get hurt. Don't forget to drink your water. Take your aspirin. And in all seriousness, don't buy drugs down in Atlanta. Supposedly right now there's a new drug that's been flooding Atlanta's streets. And we've had some of the stuff up here in Baltimore as well. It looks like a prescription pill. So if you are addicted to Percocet and stuff like that, and you want, a dude that can get you some, beware, because there's this new drug out that are animal tranquilizers. And it's the tranquilizers that are used on big animals like elephants and rhinos and stuff like that, hippos, that they need to have a lot of strength to it because they're so big and so fat, that they need to have the drug get through the system so it can knock them out. I think someone put you down. Ugh. They've been putting that in pill form, and that'll kill you, literally. We've had 8 people die from that. And the rumor is that the new drug has been killing a lot of people down in Atlanta, and it's this drug. So I know most of you aren't drug, and you're not going to go up to drug dealers, hey, I want to buy some stuff, but just watch out for anybody offering you Percocets or whatever. Don't do it. Be safe, be smart, have fun. Can't wait to see the videos. Hashtag SnarkStock2017. You too can follow along with it. I will be out with the kids tomorrow. I'll be in periodically here and there. Next week, Comic Hall, new episode of Dylan Knows. Who knows what else, other trouble I can get into. We'll see. Just keep an eye on my Twitter feed and Facebook feed, and you'll have all the information you need. This episode will be posted later tonight, possibly. I mean, it's 11:30 right now. I might wait till tomorrow to post it because I'm getting tired, but I'm probably going to hang upstairs for about another hour just to look through my phone while it's charging and get back the 2 hours or so I didn't have my phone. So thanks anyway. thanks again. Thanks for those who watched. I had a few people in and out all day. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you, Kelly Tool, as well, and particularly Scott again. Thank you for all your help getting my phone fixed. Said we'll see what happens next week. Go to the comic book store, pick up Batman number 24, definitely, and the rest of Tom King's run as well. And while you're there, get some Peter Tomasi Superman as well. You won't be disappointed. On that note, I'm going to say farewell. Have a pleasant weekend. Stay cool if you're up here in the upper mid-Atlantic where it's going to be in the upper 90s. Stay cool, stay hydrated, have fun. School's out for summer for a lot of people today. My kids have until Tuesday. By the time I come back next time, I'll probably have a new door on my front door. All right, guys. Snark Stock 2017. Keep your eyes out there. Be cool. Stay fun. Have fun. Don't do anything stupid.